If you thought summer was winding down, oh, you're sadly mistaken, because the summer of Friday the 13th is just getting started. Here we go. What is going on, everyone? That's right. The summer of Friday the 13th is here. Yes, the little kiddos, their summer might be winding down as they get ready to go back to school, but the summer for the adults, well, we still got a ways to go. Because according to the calendar, well, summer doesn't end until September 21st, right? And before September 21st gets here, we have a Friday the 13th. And so, therefore, from now up until that Friday the 13th, we are going to do the Friday the 13th review series, starting off with 1980's Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th starring Adrienne King and Betsy Palmer. Friday the 13th, it came out as a competitor to compete with what Halloween was doing. Halloween kind of set the slasher genre on fire, so to speak. Of course, because of that, you have movies like Friday the 13th popping up, among many others, trying to compete and get in and get their feet in the slasher craze at the time. The beginning of the film starts in 1958, showing us a flashback, or so to speak, of events that occur on the camp. Two young counselors running up into the shaft to, shaft each other, I suppose. Unfortunately, they meet their demise by an unknown killer. We don't know who that killer is. We don't know why they're there. But we do know that, unfortunately, they don't make it. So then we flash forward to 1980, present day in the movie. We see a young woman walking through a town. It looks like she's trying to get somewhere. She walks into a diner. She's looking for a ride. She wants to know where Camp Crystal Lake is. People are calling her crazy for wanting to go there. What does she want to go messing around that place for? And then we meet Crazy Ralph. Crazy Ralph comes along and he's like, you don't want to go messing around that place. You're all doomed. You're all doomed. And she's a little freaked out by that. But luckily, one of the truck drivers in the restaurant that she went into offers her a ride. Along this ride, he gets a little weird too. She's all, well, all right, he's giving me a ride and things like that. Pretty happy about that. And then next thing you know, he's turning into a weirdo too. Camp Crystal Lakes is jinxed. And he's going crazy too. And she's like, what is going on here? So of course, she gets out. She continues walking down the road on her own. And then, as she's walking, a Jeep, an unknown Jeep comes along. We don't see who's inside. She gets in because they offer her a ride. She says, thanks. Going to Camp Crystal Lake. All right. And then we're driving down the road with the Jeep. It's a little weird. Like you get this weird, creepy vibe about it because there's no real music. There's no real backing music to this. It's just the ambience of the moment. The ambience of the Jeep driving down the road. The ambience of the nature around them. I really love that, by the way. I just absolutely love that. And they're driving down the road. It's kind of freaky, because then she realizes they blow right past Crystal Lake. And she's like, hey, that's the camp back there. Where are we going? And the driver just keeps speeding up, and she doesn't know what's going on. And she starts freaking out. So she jumps out, starts running through the woods. The Jeep comes back, and she's running through the woods. The Jeep stops. We're assuming someone's coming after her in the woods. And she's running like hell, run for her life. And then, unfortunately, she meets her demise with a knife to the throat. And it's odd because at that moment, you're like, what is going on? Because she's sort of built up like the main character, and then she's just done for, just like that. Well, after that, we see a group of what we are to believe is camp counselors fixing up Camp Crystal Lake. And now that we've heard, like, there's some weird stuff that's going on at Crystal Lake, we're kind of like, kind of wonder what's going on here. What's this Crystal Lake all about? Why is this happening? We've already seen people being killed. We've seen people being killed years previous, too. We meet Alice, who then becomes our main character, played by Adrienne King. And the main counselor, Steve Christie, she kind of looks like she has a crush on him, which is a little weird. I don't know. They don't really say that these characters are of age or aren't of age, but he's clearly much older than her. So it's a little weird and creepy that he would be into her, but she's into him too, so what's the difference? But they have a little banter back and forth. We don't know whatever happens to that. We also are introduced to Kevin Bacon along the way, who makes an appearance in this film. It's not his first movie I think he did National Lampoon's Animal House, but it was kind of a, passing role. Where here, I think he has more of a role that you remember. As the movie goes on, we notice someone is always watching the counselors. There's no kids to be found. Although they're getting the camp ready for, like they're going to have a summer camp, but there's no kids to be found. But we do notice someone always watching them from the distance behind a tree. We might see a hand pull a branch down. They have a little moment where they're swimming in the lake, and one of them decides to pull a prank, act like he's drowning. They pull him out. Of course, he gets mouth to mouth by the one girl, and then he just is playing a prank. Obviously, that didn't go very well for him. They start to wonder where their friend was, the other counselor, obviously the girl from the beginning of the movie. They start to wonder where she is, because it doesn't make sense. She should have been there by now. But as darkness falls, things start to take a turn for the worse. People start disappearing one by one. Where did they go? Only to find their bodies later. Kevin Bacon's just simply enjoying a little bit of sex with his girlfriend, and then, laying in bed, decides to light up a little joint. A nice relaxing moment after you just had passionate sex with your woman. Sitting there, hanging out, chilling it. Next thing you know, hand comes up from over the bed, underneath the bed, grabs his head. Arrow comes up through his throat. While his girlfriend goes off to the shower house to use the restroom, and she's just all giddy about what happened just previously in the bedroom with her now dead boyfriend. Unfortunately for her. Some of the other counselors are sitting around playing Monopoly, but they're not just playing any Monopoly, they're playing strip Monopoly. Oh yeah. Alice and Bill decide to go out to the power out. There's a powerhouse, I guess, but try and start the power up again, right? So they do go out there, they do manage to get the power going. After this, Alice is left on her own because then Bill disappears, unfortunately for him. Steve Christie had left the camp earlier in the day, and we saw that he had a Jeep very much like the Jeep we saw at the beginning of the movie. Were we led to believe that it could possibly be him? Could have been. But we see that he's at a diner. He had left to go get supplies. He's at the diner. It's now pouring down rain. He leaves to come back, but the Jeep won't start, so he gets a ride with a police officer, the sheriff, I think. I don't know if he's the sheriff. I honestly can't remember. But he gets a ride back with the police officer, drops him off, he gets out, and he starts running down into the camp. And then lights turn on, and he's like, oh, hey, it's you. Like he recognized whoever this was. Okay, so he seems to recognize this person, but then we see that he meets his demise, and now Alice is truly alone. Alice is wondering what's going on. As the night goes on, she gets more and more worried, so she starts to go looking for everybody that has vanished. But in the course of doing so, she finds body after body, and then she starts to freak out. So she runs back to the cabin, she starts locking all the doors, starts barring the doors with things, and then she sees headlights. She sees headlights and she starts to get excited and happy. Oh, there's somebody here, finally, somebody to save the day. Looking out the window, she sees them. She goes and undoes everything, opens the door, runs out, and a woman gets out of the Jeep that we've never seen before. We've not seen this woman the entire movie. We have no idea who this woman is. Short, curly hair, a sweater, a gray sweater on. We have no idea who she is. She gets out of the Jeep. And she's like, oh, I'm just a friend of the Christies, saying that she's a friend of Steve Christie and the Christie family, right? And she's kind of weirded out by it, and she's like, okay. So then they both go in the cabin, and then the woman starts to tell the story of her son, Jason, who had drowned in the lake many years ago. All due to the fact that the camp counselors ignored him, not understanding that he couldn't swim, and when he got into the lake, he drowned. And she blames it on the counselors, and this is why all the killings have been going on. She couldn't let them reopen this place after what they did to her son. At this point, Alice is starting to really freak out and realize that she's the one who's been killing everyone, and now she's desperate to get away. And in that moment, we see just how insane Mrs. Voorhees is as she completely freaks out, just blaming it on Alice. Look what you did to him! Alice is trying to run away, can't get away, it's not working out. And then they have a fight on the beach, and in this fight, Alice grabs a machete and lobs Mrs. Voorhees' head right off. And then we see the body fall to the ground. And then Alice gets in the boat and pushes herself out into the lake. The sun rises. Everything's calm. Everything is now over. She's floating in the lake in the boat. The peaceful, happy end of the movie music comes on. She starts to wake up in the boat. She sees the police over on the shore. Relieved that this has finally ended. And we start to zoom in on her face as she's at peace finally. And then bam, young Jason pops out of the water and grabs her and takes her under. But then she wakes up in the hospital. Was it just a dream? Was it just a dream? Because she asked them, what about the boy? And they said, well, what boy? And she's like, the boy, Jason. And like, we never found any boy. Then he must still be there. And that's Friday the 13th. Now, I do like this movie. It is not my favorite Friday the 13th by any stretch of the imagination. It isn't even, I mean, it's low on the list, okay? Let's face it. Friday the 13th is known for Jason, right? Hockey mask, all that stuff. That's what it's known for because some of the best movies were with Jason and the hockey mask. Final Chapter, for example, which we're going to get to, obviously. But this one, it's good. You know, it's a good little whodunit slasher movie, but it doesn't stand out as one of the iconic films in the franchise like Halloween does. The original Halloween is just, you know, the original Halloween. The original Halloween still stands the test of time as the movie of the franchise. Whereas Friday the 13th, great movie in its own right, but in the franchise as a whole, it's good. I like it. I don't have a problem with it. But if I was ranking it, which we will do a ranking at the end of this series, so just hold on, we're going to get there eventually. In the sea of movies of this franchise, it's lower on the totem pole. It's lower on the totem pole. It's not my top favorite. It's not even like middle favorite. And we're going to get to all that. We're going to get to all that. Why? Doesn't mean it's a bad movie, and it's a slasher movie. It's not going to be Scorsese and things like this, right? As far as I'm concerned, I'm going to have to give it, you know what? I'm going to have to give it 3 out of 5 knives. We're going to give it 3 out of 5 knives. Not, you know, middle of the road rating, because I do enjoy it. I love this. I love to watch the movie. But like I said, as a movie within that entire franchise, it's lower. I'm going to watch the other ones more that I like more, which we will talk about in future videos. Obviously, you've figured out at this point that we are going to be going through the series 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. And yeah, so the summer of Friday the 13th has only just begun. So I hope you're going to stick around for this because this is long overdue. We've been needing to do this series of movies for a long time. And next up will be Friday the 13th Part 2. So make sure your notifications are on, you're subscribed, and all that good stuff for when the next episode drops. And with that said, I will catch you all down the road.